Hello YouTube, Jared here with another video for you from Wargaming with Jared. We are coming up on the next edition of Warhammer. It is expected to be announced in the next couple weeks, and so I figured I'd make a video for you on what the hype cycle is going to look like. With every edition comes a hype cycle, highs and lows and big stories and things that everybody's watching for. And so if you're newer to the hobby or it's been a while and you're wondering, all right, what does it mean a new edition is coming? What are going to be kind of the big emotional moments and the knee-jerk reactions? I wanted to put out a guide and say, here's what to watch for. Here's what's legitimately worth, maybe pivoting your strategy on how you're going to engage with the new edition versus what's just going to be a little bit of a knee-jerk. Because there's always going to be people who are saying it's the best ever, the worst ever. How do you tell if that's serious or if that's just kind of a gut check? So I want to give you 10 reasons. I figured 10 is a good catchy number. 10 things you should watch for when it comes to this hype cycle in terms of, is this a legitimate, point of interest, or is this just hype? So 10 things to watch kind of going into the edition reveal, going into the actual drop, and then the first month or so after we have a new edition. So I want to give you kind of a timeline, so to speak, of what the hype cycle is going to actually look like. So first thing to note, basic army composition won't change. They're not going to throw out all the models and replace everybody's models with new models. They're not going to suddenly make infantry irrelevant. They're not going to get rid of all of the heroes or named heroes. Like, the game's still going to be Warhammer 40K. And so if you're looking to start an army, you can go ahead and start your army early. You don't need to wait for the new edition. There's a few exceptions. Might want to wait if you want to start orcs just because they're expected to have some bigger rule changes. Might want to hold off if you're picking one of the really old ranges. But otherwise, you're pretty safe to get your combat patrol box, start painting some stuff up. Unless you're trying to go hyper metalist out of the jump, you're probably going to want to paint up a handful of battle line, couple of cool leaders, your captains, your lieutenants, or your equivalent, and then probably a couple of vehicles, your tanks. Like, you're going to want to use those things. In most editions, most armies will take at least one of everything in that list. But when it comes to which elite units, support units, more specialty characters, even name characters, that's the stuff you don't want to buy before the edition change. So there'll be certain characters in an army, like you take Necrons, there's 5 or 6 named characters at least. Some of them are going to get good rules, and probably 1 or 2 of them will get really bad rules, and you don't know which is going to be which. But you're going to need Necron warriors to hold your back objective at the very least. A squad of them is going to do you some good. You probably can guess that having a Doom, one of the Doom cannons, or one of the other bigger models is probably going to be good. But you never know. You never know what's going to be good and what's not going to be good. And so I would not recommend going out and buying a 2,000-point army, but starting to paint your combat patrol, work out your paint scheme. That's probably the wise thing to do as you're getting ready for this announcement. So the next thing is combat patrol mode is definitely not going away. It's already been pointed out that the old starter box was relabeled on the GW website, Warhammer 40K Combat Patrol Starter Set, which means it's also probably not going away. If you want to do Tyranids or Space Marines, this box will hang around with some terrain and its own gameplay mode. Combat Patrol has been heavily invested into. They went through and redid every Combat Patrol. They balanced them against each other. It is pretty much guaranteed they're going to rebalance that game mode and bring it back around. Age of Sigmar did so well with Spearhead. Combat Patrol's been balanced, and they put up so much work into rebalancing the boxes and in some cases even removing the ones that were too good. This mode's been revamped. It's going to be revamped even more. It's going to get a fresh set of rules. They're going to push it hard the next couple months. So if you're into Combat Patrol or wanting to start an army, grabbing a Combat Patrol box, especially one that's not marked as a limited one that's like an evergreen starter box, go ahead and buy it. Go ahead and paint it. At the very least, you're going to be able to use it in Combat Patrol mode. So that's definitely sticking around, and you don't have to worry about the hype cycle for that. But this brings us to the first hard moment. They're going to announce, there's going to be an article on Warcom that says, here's all the models that are going away. We're getting rid of these models. Hopefully they're not getting rid of any factions. Age of Sigmar got hit so hard on their last refresh. And I was right in the thick of that one. And that was really frustrating. But stuff's going to go away. Now, here's the thing to think about. Anything that's Legends right now likely loses rules and they're just out of the edition. And that's rough. Anything that's old has a good chance of just going to Legends, or what they did for Age of Sigmar, and is probably a good sign of what they're thinking. They said, we'll balance it for one more year, and then we're done with it. That's what happened to the Bone Splitter army, is they said, hey, we'll balance you for 1 year, and then after that, you're in Legends, and then you're not coming back next edition. And so technically, they're in the game as Legends for Age of Sigmar, but they don't get any updates. Half the kits are not even on the list anymore, and it's a joke. So more than likely, a bunch of stuff's going to lose rules. Now, the other thing that we don't even know yet is counts as. So a bunch of orc models might lose their rules, but then they get a new model that they're a perfect proxy for, and they're reintroduced, and so you could just reuse them. That's what happened to the Stormcast in the Age of Sigmar edition. A bunch of their models went away, but almost all of those models had a counts as that it could just become something else at the same base size. And so it's not so bad. My Bone Splitters, I basically just found Iron Jaws equivalents and merged them into my Iron Jaws, and it was pretty simple. So it's frustrating when they start putting stuff to Legends, and people will say, yeah, it's Legends, you can just play it in friendly games. True, but they tend to make Legends have really weak rules, so they're non-competitive, so you won't be tempted to try to take them. And then it's usually less thematic rules, it's less well thought out. And so I don't like Legends rules. I'll use them, I'll play with them, but I don't like them. But there's going to be a absolute, like, just explosion. That article will come out and everybody is going to get angry for at least a couple days, because my favorite kit from 2001 just got discontinued. Or, hopefully they don't get rid of the Rhino, but if they finally put the Rhino to Legends for Space Marines, bunch of Space Marine players are going to get real mad about that. And it's expected. People put a lot of time and love and care about their models, and so when they get told they're Legends now, it tends to make people unhappy. But it's part of the game, and it's part of what keeps GW in business, so you can't blame them too much. The next thing to know is points matter. There's going to be a lot of speculation on what's going to be good and what's not. If we don't know the points, we don't know what's good. Plain and simple. This is one of the most important things I've learned with the last edition, the 10th edition changeover in Age of Sigmar. It does not matter how good the scroll looks or the stat sheet looks or whatever it is. If you don't know the points, you don't know, because really overpointing a model can absolutely kill its potential, and really underpointing a model can really make it usable. It could have the worst rules, but if it's super cheap, that's your chaff unit. You can throw it out there anyways. And so points make and break this game so much. Until we know points, do not make any buying decisions based on the new edition until we know for sure the points. And not even just a leak, because they might leak them and then change the point values again. So I'd say until those points are on Warhammer Community, till it's on Warcom, don't trust it. Like, we got to know the points before we start making our lists. Same with the lists, like how the lists are arranged in terms of how many models you need. Hopefully we're not going back to too much in terms of forced, but I would hold off on making any impulse buys based on points. Before I move on to the next one, if you haven't already liked and subscribed, I really appreciate a like and a subscribe. My channel is still really small. I'm only at about 300 subscribers. So every single subscription, every single like and comment really means a lot to me. I really appreciate it as I try to grow this channel. And I'm planning on making a lot of videos as we get into 11th edition. And the more subscribers I have, the more I can devote more time to this channel, try to get some better gear for this channel, and try to make videos for y'all on what it means to play and how to list build and how to affordably get into Warhammer, which is the focus of this channel, of course. So I really appreciate any like and subscribe. Next point we have here is the launch box is going to be announced, and it's going to cost some money. There's going to be a cool cinematic. They're going to show off all brand new models for 2 different armies, probably Space Marines and Orcs. That's what we're hearing. They're all going to look amazing. You're going to go, whoa, those are some cool models. I like all these models. Maybe there's 1 or 2 you don't like, but they're going to be good sculpts. They always do really cool stuff in the launch boxes. And then they're going to show us the price. and everybody's going to be mad. Unless this thing is suddenly cheaper, and with the state of the world, it's not going to be cheaper. This thing's going to have a heavy price tag because if you think about it, it's an army in a box. It's going to be roughly 1,000 points of Space Marines and roughly 1,000 points of presumably orcs. That's 2 half armies, bigger than 2 combat patrols. And so they're going to price this thing premium. Maybe it has terrain. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it has paints. Who knows? Probably won't have paints, but they've done crazy stuff in the past. It's going to have dice, possibly, or maybe it's not going to have dice. We don't know. So they're going to make this thing pretty premium, and it's going to cost a lot. And so the questions you have to immediately ask: do you really want to paint both armies? And be realistic. It might cost 3 months of your hobby dollars, but it's going to take you 3 or 4 months to paint 2 half armies. And then if you don't want both armies, can you split it with a friend? Both armies are likely to be really popular. Breaking up boxes is going to be really easy. Finding somebody to split a box with or buy half a box off of eBay or your local Discord or your local game store should be fairly easy. If you don't want both armies, don't buy the box. Find somebody and split it. It'll save you half the cost. It's really easy to split these launch boxes. So don't let the sticker shock make you too up in arms. That's more of the hype train and the kind of the crowd mentality. The other things to consider: local game stores will buy a bunch of them. They'll have a little pile of them. There's a chance that they sit for a few days, especially if they're a little bit on the heavier price tag, and you might be able to get some kind of deal that way. Or oftentimes the Warhammer stores, if you pre-order, will have some kind of like promo item, coins for objective markers or something silly like that. So you can either get the 15% discount from your local game store, or you can just go get the promo item if you do buy from the Warhammer store. But remember that the launch boxes are really one of the best money makers for the game stores. And so it's a great way to support your local game store and, use that as an excuse for why you're dropping so much money on a box of miniatures. Next thing to kind of keep in mind is model count and lethality. Right now, this game is very lethal. I was teaching my friend for the first time the other day how to play Warhammer, and you look at how much armor piercing, how much damage, how many special rules are on every single gun, and you're blowing models off the table every turn. Now, is that a fun thing? Absolutely. I think it's great. I like how lethal Warhammer 40K is, especially compared to Age of Sigmar. There's a lot of models are dying and you have reinforcements coming in. That's just kind of how the game plays. But it means the armies are expensive. You need a lot of models. It is a big thing to paint a whole army. And that's what I really enjoy about this hobby is building big armies. But normally every edition, and we saw this in the last edition, they creep scale. Toughness goes up. Armor piercing goes up. Mortal wounds go up. And so there's a good chance they're going to do a pullback. So if you start looking at the army rules and the model rules for your favorite units, and suddenly everything got weaker, you're going to see a whole bunch of people talking about how they killed your favorite models and it's all unusable. They're going to do it to every faction, not just your faction. Take a deep breath. They're just making the game less scale creeped so they can creep it up in the next edition. They do it all the time. That's going to be a fake panic. The next thing, though, that may be something to keep in mind is there are going to be stock shortages. They're printing launch boxes right now. They got all their factories cranking them out because they know they're going to need a lot. They're not printing the unpopular stuff. And so the launch boxes will go up and then sell out and go up and sell out and go up during the time zone changes. They don't launch it all at once. They launch it on the time zones. So there'll be lots of launches. There'll be pre-orders at your local game store. If you want a launch box, you'll get a launch box. It's very unlikely you won't be able to get it if you really want it. Now, if you want it for a really good discount, that might be pulling teeth. But again, split the box if you need to split the box. Do what you got to do. But while the launch box won't sell out immediately, a bunch of other kits will. And so if orcs really are in this launch box, a bunch of the orc kits will sell out. Because right now they're printing launch boxes in the new models, but they're probably not printing that many Burner Bombers or the Daka Jets or Gazgul Thraka. So those boxes will get bought out by all the new orc players. And so this is what we saw at Tyranids last edition, is a bunch of Tyranid kits sold out and were sold out for months while they finished printing all of the launch boxes. And so if there's something to go buy, it's buy the less popular kits right now, but be very careful buying anything too old because it might go to Legends. And so it's a you win if you get it, you win if you don't. But as soon as the edition's announced, they tell you what's going away. If you really want to paint Gazgul and he doesn't have a new model, buy him quick because he is definitely going to sell out. And it might be 6 months till he comes back, especially if he gets good rules. So that is something to really be aware of. What's going to sell out is not the models you expect. It's going to be the models that are auto includes. And so models like Angron or Kairos Fate Weaver, models that are really good in their armies, and everybody's starting that army because it got really good rules this edition. Those are the kind of models that are going to sell out fast. Something else to note, we don't know what's going to happen with WYSIWYG and Wargear. A lot of people are talking and speculating right now on if Wargear is going to come back in terms of if you take this model, add this many points to that unit. If that happens, suddenly it's going to be a thing that certain kits you want to run without war gear. Certain kits are always bring the war gear. You built your model with this gun and you should have built it with that gun. You know, you got the Gauss Flare on your Necron Elite instead of your Tesla coil, or vice versa. At the end of the day, build what you think looks cool, magnetize if you want, but don't let WYSIWYG ruin your fun. If the last edition wasn't very WYSIWYG, it was just build everything at max, max build out, I guess you could say, where it was put every special weapon in the squad because it's free. If they reverse that, don't take a hacksaw to your models, don't bust your kits up, don't play WYSIWYG. Say, hey, I'm running this army, but because of the points now, these 3 guys have the sniper rifles, but we're not running the sniper rifles. Or this guy's got a grenade launcher, but I'm not going to take the grenade launcher so he fits in the list. Your opponent's going to be cool with that. It's a new edition. And as long as you're clear and upfront, WYSIWYG doesn't need to be the reason you chop your models to pieces, because they could go and change that in 6 months and suddenly you cut all the grenade launchers off your models and now you need the grenade launchers again and you've sawed them to pieces. So don't go cutting your models up if they do add war gear. That's I think a really good piece of advice. And then ninth thing for you is buffs and nerfs are going to come a few months in. There's so many units and factions and models. They're going to get something wrong. They always do. And that's not a knock on them. There's literally hundreds of kits to keep track of. Something's going to be imbalanced. Something is going to be way too powerful. Somebody's going to figure that out. There's going to be a bunch of YouTube videos about how this combination is now broken and will auto win you the game. That'll sell out immediately. Everybody will buy it. And then as soon as it sells out, GW will change the rules, nerf it to nothing, and then everybody's stuck now with a kit that they don't want that's been badly nerfed. And by the time you got it painted, you're not going to probably get a game in. The only people who are really going to get to use it are the people who already had it painted from previous editions. So don't meta chase, especially in the first 3 months. Let the meta settle. And if you really want to get competitive 2-3 months in. And for the first couple months, just enjoy the wild west of trying new army lists and trying things out yourself. Don't just do what other people tell you, and make your own lists and play the models you want to play and see what happens. So I'd encourage you really to have fun with the game and don't try to jump the meta too soon, because it will change radically and swingy for the first couple months. And finally, just a level set expectations. And I hate this, but it's true. Niche factions will not get any love in an edition change. The edition change is all about the poster children. It's about the popular factions. It's GW's way of making money, LGS Store's way of making money. Do not expect the niche factions to get any kind of love. Our goal is a niche faction, and I'm a Harlequin player lover. I'd love to start a Death Watch army, but they have like almost no kits. There's several other factions that are not very popular. I would love to build a Harlequin army, but they do not have enough models or kits. And I'm not expecting them to get anything. All my goal is do they still have rules? Did they not get kicked out of the game or merged in or super watered down? As long as those kits stick around and you can play them, when the time rolls around, they'll get their moment in the sun. But don't go into it expecting your favorite niche faction or sub faction to get extra attention are really good rules. Now, one of them might accidentally get good rules, but they'll get nerfed if that happens. So you don't want that to happen in a strange way. It's better. It's better just to survive and exist and hope you get a focus box. The Harlequins recently got a new box not too long ago, so that was really nice to see. So I hoping they're sticking around and maybe they'll get some new kits in this next edition, but they're not coming in launch box, that's for sure. So hopefully all of this advice was helpful to you in terms of level setting, in terms of all the things you can expect. There's going to be some highs and lows. Somebody's going to be angry about something. Something's going to look too good to be true. It's going to cost more money than we want it to cost. We know all these things to be true. So don't let this game ruin your emotions. Enjoy the hype. Enjoy the game. New edition changes can be really, really fun. Having new kits to paint is really fun. New models is fun. So enjoy the ride. And if you want some more videos to watch, check out my videos. I'm planning on building 11 armies for 11th edition, and it might turn into even more armies than that. So if you're interested in how to affordably trade models and get more armies, I have lots of videos on that topic. If you're looking to start a new army for the next edition, I've got a lot of videos on that topic as well, and I'm planning to make even more. So I appreciate you watching. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye.